If you follow or study astrology, you've probably spent a good amount of time reading about the positive qualities of your sign. Studying the dark side of every zodiac sign, like the fears we have, can make astrology a more useful tool for everyone. The more we become aware of these fears and the negative beliefs that fuel them, the more we can move past them to become the celebrities, billionaires, prophets we were born to be. Aries, March 21st to April 19th, fear of losing people. The only thing scarier for an Aries than losing a fight is losing a friend in the process. Although they often won't realize that until afterward, because they really hate losing a fight. Aries are warriors. They throw themselves into combat not only because they want to win, but because it's in their nature. They enjoy a good battle of wills, and if there's no fight easily forthcoming, they'll antagonize the ones they love, often without realizing it. When an Aries' actions backfire, the ones they love retaliate, not by fighting back, but by disappearing, and Aries will never forget his or her mistake. It puts Aries in a state of permanent wrongness, a feeling that absolutely makes their skin crawl. Unfortunately, that restlessness spurs them to want to fight more, just to get the energy out. It's a vicious cycle. Taurus, April 20th to May 20th, fear of financial instability. Taurus loves to be comfortable. They enjoy the simplest creature comforts, good food, good friends, a nice shag rug, a fireplace and anything that contributes to a warm atmosphere. It's more than just a preference for comfort. For Taurus, there is a deep need to be surrounded by amenity. Since the conveniences that they require have to be supported by financial stability, Taurus guards their money and fights off debt like the plague. If they see their account balance dwindling, the first thing they worry about is the changes they'll have to make to their lifestyle. They don't earn money just to earn, they earn to spend. Nothing scares them more than instability, financial or otherwise. Gemini, May 21st to June 20th, fear of making decisions. Geminis change their decisions, opinions, choices, and even their promises to themselves and others all the time. The reason? They don't feel like sticking to them. This quality is what often makes them such agile manipulators. They'll change their stance so often you'll forget what they originally told you. But with every strength comes a shadow side, a weakness, and for Gemini that weakness is the fear of making decisions. Gemini is symbolized by the twins, meaning there are two distinct sides to their personalities, more than two, when it comes to Gemini men, that are constantly in conflict with one another. The minute they settle on one choice, their other half begins to pipe up about what they could be choosing to do instead. The problem for Gemini is that they know both sides have great ideas. Cancer, June 21st to July 22nd, fear of leaving home. Cancers are the ultimate agoraphobics. They like to stay in their safe zone, the place where no one can hurt them. The irony of agoraphobia, which is defined as a fear of being trapped in places or situations where escape is difficult, is that it takes the people who suffer from it prisoner. Cancers might feel safer in a zone that they are used to, but the isolation that this creates isn't good for them. They need to learn to branch out, to do the things that scare them, to go to places that are both physically and emotionally unfamiliar to them. That way, they can learn that personal freedom has more to do with internal than external circumstances. Leo, July 23rd to August 22nd, fear of being ignored. If there is one thing Leo won't stand for, it's walking into a room unnoticed. Lucky for them, they know how to work with that fear in a motivational way. They make it almost impossible for people to ignore them, either through their wardrobes, their body language or the way they express themselves. Most of the time, they use all three to gain the attention of those around them. Leos need to be witnessed. They need to be seen in order to validate their experiences. It is part of their mindset that if something isn't seen by others, it doesn't have the same impact, and that includes their own existence. If you ask a Leo the old if a tree falls in a forest line, they'd answer confidently, if no one's around to hear it, then nobody cares. The tree was a failure. Good thing Leo does everything in their power to prevent themselves from meeting the same fate. Virgo, August 23 to September 22, fear of imperfection. Remember the full mental breakdown that would happen to Monica from Friends when something was spilled on the floor? If you walked into a Virgo's apartment spilling wine on the carpet, throwing used tissues on the ground or wiping your greasy hands on their dishes, they'd file assault charges. The slightest bit of disorganization in their personal lives or their physical world can trigger feelings of despair for Virgo. It doesn't take much to send Virgos into a spiral of negativity, because they happen to be naturally negative people, although they'll claim they're just being helpful or realistic. Staying organized is one of the ways they try to keep their emotions at bay. While they consciously fear external imperfection, what they truly fear is their own internal imperfections. Libra, September 23 to October 22, fear of being alone. Intelligent, loving, passionate people, Libras are exceptionally good romantic partners. It's hard to imagine them spending their lives alone. It's especially hard for them to imagine it, but they do, all the time. Because nothing frightens them more. Libras are typically either serial monogamists, or perpetually depressed. I should know, my dad is a Libra. When my mom divorced him, he ate nothing but condiments and deli meat for a year. He also proposed to the first woman he dated because he'd fallen down a flight of stairs and was scared that no one was there to help him up, even though he wasn't hurt. Bless his heart. Scorpio, October 23 to November 21, fear of intimacy. Scorpios are dark, deep, complex people. You may have read that Pisces is the most sensitive sign in the zodiac, but that's because a Pisces will boldly wear their emotions on their sleeve. Scorpios, I would argue, are even more sensitive than Pisces, because Scorpios are too sensitive to give full expression to their feelings. A Scorpio's sensitivity is actually paralyzing. Abandonment and engulfment are the two factors that create this fear of intimacy in Scorpios. They are afraid of others eventually leaving them, or they are terrified of losing their individuality to a relationship. As a result, they tend to draw partners toward them to eventually push them away, either by engaging in extramarital affairs or through emotional withdrawal. Even being friends with a Scorpio will lead you to wonder, what did I do? Every few months. Sagittarius, November 22 to December 21, fear of enclosed spaces. Sagittarians are natural explorers. They love to travel the world in search of their personal truths, like trust fund kids after college graduation. The difference is, they'll do it on their own dime without regretting the cost. They are ruled by the planet Jupiter, also known as the planet of expansion. They are wild horses made to roam, and that's the truth. Perhaps it's Jupiter's influence that endows every Sagittarius with a certain degree of claustrophobia, whether they are afraid of actual confined spaces or of daily responsibilities that make them feel confined, like checking their bank accounts before going on that trip to Morocco. Nothing scares them more than a hindrance to their freedom. Capricorn, December 22 to January 19, fear of failure. Capricorns happen to be very business-minded people. They're workaholics, which is pretty much the best kind of addiction. But the shadow side of their ability to climb the ladder to success is a deeply embedded fear of failure. This fear is also what sets their slow and steady pace in everything they do. Being Capricorns, they may have inherited this desire for success or fear of failure from some kind of twisted relationship with their father figure, either by putting their father on a pedestal or having no relationship with him at all. Capricorn is ruled by the 10th house, which is associated with the father, fame and honor. Regardless of their daddy issues, Capricorns are a lot like Leo in that their fears often motivate them to succeed. Once they do, they can fund their therapy sessions to work on their issues with dear old dad. Aquarius, January 20th to February 18th, fear of institutionalization. Aquarius will spend their lives avoiding any kind of intellectual entrapment. They're a lot like Sagittarius in this respect, except that their claustrophobia is directed at institutions, like corporate work, school, hospitals, or marriage. They view all of these institutions as a kind of intellectual imprisonment, and hate the idea of subscribing to any kind of group mind. They're so original, it's hard to blame them. Leave an Aquarius to make up their own minds, or leave them alone. They're probably much happier that way. Pisces, February 19th to March 20th, fear of responsibility. The Peter Pans of the Zodiac, Pisces live in a fantasy world where they just don't want to grow up. Not that they could, even if they did want to. They are a study in contrasts, they're somehow full of the wisdom of the ages, without an ounce of true maturity. Pisces were given the gift of unending creativity, and with that comes a total incapacity to deal with day-to-day life. This is why so many Pisces turn to drugs and alcohol to effectively turn off the nagging responsibilities of the outside world, and why most of them only reach maturity with the help of a 12-step program.